The Stargazer was a patchwork of salvaged dreams, a cobbled-together scout ship that hummed more out of habit than efficiency. Its sole occupant, Marco, traced the condensation on the cockpit viewport with a grimy finger. Outside, the asteroid field known as the Shattered Crescent spun in a silent, slow-motion ballet of rock and shadow. "Another day, another credit," Marco muttered to the empty cabin, his voice the only other sound besides the ship's persistent, wheezing hum. At 17, he was a scavenger, one of the countless souls who picked at the corpse of the old galactic wars, hoping to find a sliver of valuable tech or a forgotten data core to sell for a week's worth of protein paste. His scanner beeped, a weak, hopeful sound. A energy signature, faint but consistent, was emanating from a large, jagged asteroid ahead. It wasn't the random pulse of decaying power cells. This was different, structured. "All right, Stargazer, let's go see what the void left for us," he said, nudging the control stick. He maneuvered the ship through a canyon of pockmarked rock, the scanners painting a 3D image of a wreck nestled within. It wasn't a Terran frigate or a Voger destroyer, ships he knew the blueprints of by heart. This one was older, its design organic, almost shell-like, with sweeping, graceful curves that were now fractured and torn. "Xenotype," Marco breathed, a thrill of fear and excitement coursing through him. Xenotech was the ultimate prize for a scavenger. It was also notoriously unpredictable, and often dangerously booby-trapped. He suited up, the clunky environmental hissing as it pressurized. With a magnetic tether, he launched himself from the Stargazer's airlock, floating towards the Derelict's gaping hull breach. Inside, it was a tomb, strange, crystalline gross, pulsed with a soft, internal light, illuminating corridors that seemed grown rather than built. There were no bodies, just fine, iridescent dust settled over everything. Marco's helmet lights cut through the gloom as he followed the energy signature deeper into the ship's heart. The source was a chamber, spherical and dominated by a central dais. On it rested an object unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was a polyhedron, about the size of his helmet, its surface shifting through colors that had no name. It wasn't metal nor crystal, but something in between. The energy signature was coming from it, a low, resonant thrum he could feel in his bones. The Whisperer. That's what the old-timers in the scavenger dens called artifacts like these. Legend said they held the memories and knowledge of their creators, but that trying to access them could drive a man insane. Marco's training screamed at him to leave it, to mark the location and sell the coordinates to a corporate outfit. But the pull was magnetic, irresistible. This was more than a payday. This was a secret. As he reached out a gloved hand, the polyhedron flared, and the colors stabilized into a soft, steady blue. A wave of information, not in words or images, but in pure concept, flooded his mind. He saw star charts of unknown constellations, felt the equations for faster-than-light travel that defied known physics, and heard the ghost of a melody that spoke of oceans under a binary sun. Then, the voice. It wasn't in his ears, but in the quiet space between his thoughts. Pavaran, carrier detected, synaptic interface established. The archive is fragmented. You are the new custodian. Marco stumbled back, his heart hammering against his ribs. "What are you?" he whispered, his voice cracking. "A record, a key. They are coming. The Devourers. They seek the archive. You are not safe. None are safe." A proximity alarm blared in his helmet, synced to the Stargazer. An unidentified ship had just dropped out of warp at the edge of the asteroid field. It was large, military-grade, and its transponder was broadcasting a dead signal. Pirates, or worse. The connection with the artifact snapped. The polyhedron went dark, becoming an inert, beautiful stone. But the knowledge, the star charts, the terrifying concepts, they were seared into his memory. He grabbed the artifact, shoving it into his salvage pouch. It was heavier than it looked. He sprinted as much as one can sprint in microgravity, back through the crystalline corridors. "Stargazer, emergency launch protocol. Get the engines hot," he yelled into his comms. He burst from the derelict just as the unknown ship, a hulking dagger of black metal, began firing, not at him, but at the asteroid containing the xenotype wreck. They weren't here to salvage. they were here to erase. Marco tumbled into the Stargazer's airlock, the inner door slamming shut as he hit the pressurization button. He scrambled into the pilot's seat, his hands flying over the controls. The old ship groaned in protest as he maxed the thrusters, weaving through the suddenly hostile asteroid field as laser fire turned the ancient derelict behind him into expanding plasma and dust. He was no longer just Marco the Scavenger. He was a kid in a rusty ship with a galaxy of secrets in his head and a target on his back. He had an artifact that spoke, and hunters who would stop at nothing to get it. As he punched the hyperdrive, the stars outside stretching into blinding lines, a single terrifying thought echoed in his mind, his own this time. What did I just get myself into?